Have you ever looked at a broken mug, a tin can, or a pile of autumn leaves and thought, this could be a fairy's home? In today's video, we're about to uncover how everyday trash can transform into enchanting hobbit and fairy houses that feel like they've leapt from a storybook. Welcome to Archon Aesthetic Studio, where we combine imagination, sustainability, and a touch of magic. This video explores 30+ whimsical autumn upcycles that will inspire you to see trash in a whole new way. We've included timestamps, so feel free to jump to what sparks your curiosity. If you love an idea, recreate it your way, and let us know in the comments. Your voice truly matters. Maybe to you, I'm just another creator on your screen. But behind this channel is a real story and a real family. Every like, every comment, every subscription, it keeps this dream alive. When you choose to subscribe, you're not just supporting a video, you're helping a small family continue creating and keeping hope alive, one click at a time. Thank you for being here, and thank you for seeing me. One, plastic bottle fairy lanterns with autumn leaves. As autumn days grow shorter and nights stretch longer, imagine discarded plastic bottles transforming into glowing fairy lanterns. Each bottle, once holding water or soda, now wrapped in pressed autumn leaves, amber, gold, and crimson, becomes a vessel of magic. When lit from within, they flicker softly, casting whimsical shadows across your fairy garden. Placed near a hobbit-style door or nestled along a mossy path, they feel like enchanted lights guiding woodland creatures home. These lanterns aren't just recycled crafts. They are tiny stories of light born from what others call trash, whispering warmth in the crisp autumn air. The beauty lies in their imperfection, the cut edges, the uneven glow, making them look alive, almost as if the fairies themselves had crafted them overnight. In the garden's twilight, the lanterns invite wonder, reminding us that even the simplest throwaways can hold a magical afterlife. Two, tin can hobbit house chimneys. What once held coffee or soup in your kitchen now rises proudly as a whimsical chimney for a hobbit-style fairy home. Tin cans, weathered and rustic, gain new life when painted in earthy tones or wrapped with moss and tiny stones. Picture the little chimney puffing imaginary smoke on a crisp autumn evening, blending perfectly with fallen leaves scattered around the garden. This humble piece of trash suddenly becomes an architectural detail that tells a story, perhaps of a fairy blacksmith working late or a hobbit family warming stew inside their miniature home. The metallic glint of the can, softened by autumn's golden glow, adds a cozy yet magical charm. It's proof that even the most ordinary can become extraordinary when placed in the right corner of your fairy garden. Three, glass jar potion bottles, Harry Potter inspired. Among the fallen leaves of autumn, old glass jars become something extraordinary, tiny potion bottles straight out of the wizarding world. Imagine jars once filled with jam or pickles now glowing with shimmering colors, emerald green, amethyst purple, or smoky silver, crafted to resemble magical elixirs from a Harry Potter classroom. Nestled along a fairy garden pathway or placed on a tiny wooden shelf near a hobbit door, they whisper enchantment into the scene. Each jar feels like it carries a story, a healing potion for tired fairies, a sparkling brew for garden sprites, or a mysterious elixir that only glows under moonlight. The transparent glass reflects autumn's golden light, while hand-painted labels and whimsical stoppers turn these recycled items into treasures. More than decoration, they're symbols of how ordinary objects can ignite imagination, bringing the charm of Hogwarts into your magical autumn garden. Four, Bottle Cap Garden Path to Fairy House. What many would toss aside as insignificant bottle caps, in a whimsical garden they become stepping stones leading straight to a fairy's front door. Imagine caps of every color, red from soda, green from sparkling water, silver from beer, pressed into soft soil and arranged like a mosaic path. In autumn, scattered golden leaves drift across, softening their shine, and making the trail feel like an enchanted walkway. Each step looks as though tiny fairies or hobbits could follow it home under the fading twilight. The recycled caps sparkle with playful charm, bringing a touch of childhood nostalgia and proving that even the smallest scraps of trash can guide you towards something magical. The path isn't just decoration. It's an invitation to step into a world of wonder hidden in your backyard. Five, Cardboard Hobbit Door with Autumn Wreath. A simple cardboard box, once carrying groceries or shoes, can be reborn as the entrance to a magical hobbit home. Cut into a round shape and painted in earthy greens or rustic browns, it transforms into a whimsical hobbit door. Add tiny hinges drawn with paint, a golden paper clip as the doorknob, and suddenly it feels alive. To celebrate autumn, crown it with a miniature wreath made of pressed leaves, dried twigs, and tiny berries, giving the door a warm seasonal charm. Set against a patch of moss or leaning on a garden stone, the door feels like it leads to a secret world just beneath the earth. Children and adults alike will smile at the illusion, proof that magic often hides in plain sight, built from scraps others overlook. This cardboard treasure whispers of stories waiting behind its enchanted threshold. Six, Egg Carton Mini Mushrooms for Fairy Garden. From the most humble kitchen scrap, a cardboard egg carton, sprout magical mushrooms perfect for a fairy's woodland corner. Cut and painted in bright reds with white polka dots or warm autumn browns, each little cap looks like it belongs in an enchanted forest. Imagine them tucked into mossy patches, peeking out between twigs, or gathered in a cluster near a hobbit door, as if fairies had planted them overnight. Their texture, rough and imperfect, gives them a natural, earthy charm that feels right at home among fallen autumn leaves. These recycled mushrooms are more than decorations. They bring a whimsical spirit, making your garden feel like it's alive with tiny stories waiting to unfold. Suddenly, egg cartons are not waste, but the birthplace of a fairy tale. 7. Broken Mug Planters by Hobbit Homes. A chipped mug, once destined for the trash, becomes a vessel of life when placed in a whimsical garden. Imagine its broken edge softened by trailing moss, tiny succulents, or a sprig of thyme growing inside. Nestled beside a hobbit door or under the shade of autumn leaves, these mugs feel like miniature planters built by fairies themselves. The cracks tell a story, adding rustic charm and making each piece unique, as though enchanted hands repurposed them with love. In autumn, fallen acorns or bright orange marigolds tucked inside add seasonal warmth, turning broken ceramics into symbols of resilience and beauty. Every mug planter whispers, imperfection is not an end, but a new beginning, especially in a magical garden. Eight. Cracked Plate Mosaic Hobbit Pathways. What once was a broken plate, forgotten in the kitchen, can be reborn as a glittering mosaic pathway winding through a fairy garden. Imagine fragments of blue and white porcelain, bright floral ceramics, or earthy terracotta, carefully arranged like stepping stones that lead straight to a hobbit's round wooden door. In autumn, scattered golden leaves rest between the cracks, creating a tapestry of color that feels both rustic and magical. The sharp edges of brokenness transform into patterns of beauty, a symbol that even shattered pieces can form something whole again. As sunlight or lantern light falls on the path, each fragment glimmers with charm, inviting fairies, hobbits, and garden dreamers alike to follow the story hidden in every shard. This pathway is not just decoration. It is a bridge between the ordinary world and an enchanted one. Nine. Milk Carton Mini Fairy Towers. A simple milk or juice carton, once emptied and forgotten, can rise again as a whimsical fairy tower. Imagine the tall, narrow shape painted in soft stone gray, with windows cut into its sides and tiny ivy vines, painted or real moss, crawling up the walls. A pointed roof made from cardboard scraps or autumn leaves turns it into a fairytale spire that feels like it belongs in the Shire or at the edge of a Harry Potter forest. Placed among twigs, moss, and small stones, the carton disappears into magic, no longer packaging, but a miniature castle for fairies and hobbits alike. The rough edges, brush strokes, and autumn accents bring it warmth, making the tower feel hand-built by unseen creatures of the garden. Every glance at it whispers adventure and mystery, as if the tower might glow softly by lantern light at dusk. Ten. Twigs and branches for rustic fairy roofs. Fallen twigs and branches, scattered across the garden in autumn, hold hidden magic waiting to be revealed. When gathered and arranged carefully, they form the rustic roof of a fairy or hobbit home, natural, cozy, and perfectly imperfect. The crisscrossing sticks mimic thatched roofing, while tiny leaves still clinging to the branches add seasonal charm. Under the soft golden light of autumn, the twig roof feels alive, as if woodland creatures crafted it overnight to shelter their stories. Each branch, once overlooked as garden debris, becomes a beam in an enchanted cottage, blending seamlessly with mossy walls and stone pathways. The texture, the scent of wood, the whisper of leaves in the wind, all contribute to a whimsical illusion that makes the garden feel like a secret world where fairies dwell. With twigs, broken becomes beautiful, and simple becomes spellbinding. (11) Painted autumn leaves as fairy wall art. When autumn arrives, the ground is scattered with fallen leaves, amber, crimson, and golden brown. Instead of fading away, these fragile treasures can be turned into fairy wall art. Imagine each leaf carefully painted with tiny whimsical patterns, spirals, stars, glowing runes, or even miniature fairy wings outlined in silver and gold. Pressed against a garden wall, propped beside a hobbit door, or tucked into a mossy stone corner, they shimmer like enchanted murals crafted by woodland sprites. The delicate veins of the leaves become natural canvases, telling magical stories with every stroke. In the soft autumn breeze, they flutter gently, as though alive with whispers of fairies. What was once destined to crumble underfoot becomes a timeless piece of ephemeral beauty, blending trash-to-treasure artistry with the fleeting wonder of the season. (12) Pebblestone Hobbit door frames. Smooth garden pebbles, often overlooked underfoot, can be transformed into magical frames for hobbit doors. Imagine a round wooden or cardboard door, its edges carefully lined with tiny stones in soft grays, warm browns, and speckled whites. Each pebble adds weight, texture, and permanence, making the miniature home feel grounded in the earth, like it has stood for centuries. In autumn, fallen leaves drift against the stones, softening their edges with seasonal warmth. The result is a door that feels inviting and enchanted, as though a hobbit might swing it open at any moment, welcoming guests into a cozy underground cottage. Every stone whispers of patience, time, and nature's artistry, recycling not just materials, but the very spirit of the land itself. (13) Broken clay pot mini hobbit garden. A clay pot that's cracked or broken no longer needs to be discarded. It can be reborn as a whimsical miniature hobbit garden. Imagine the fractured edges forming natural terraces, each level planted with moss, tiny succulents, or trailing ivy. At the base, a round hobbit door peeks out, framed by stones and autumn leaves, while the upper levels feel like hidden fairy balconies. The roughness of the broken clay adds rustic charm, blending perfectly with the season's earthy tones. Set in a cozy garden corner, the pot transforms from trash into a layered world of enchantment, as if fairies or hobbits carved their homes straight into the shards. It is a small sanctuary of imagination, proof that even brokenness can hold whole new worlds within. (14) Old garden hose as spiral fairy borders. An old, worn-out garden hose, once forgotten in the shed, can find new life as a spiral border in a fairy garden. Coiled gently into curves and circles, it creates whimsical boundaries for miniature pathways or tiny garden beds. Painted in earthy browns, mossy greens, or even shimmering metallic tones, the hose takes on the look of enchanted roots or magical serpents resting in the soil. In autumn, fallen leaves collect between the spirals, softening the design and blending it into the natural landscape. What was once dull and discarded now becomes a playful detail that guides the eye toward a hobbit door or fairy tower. The spirals feel alive, like protective guardians of the garden's hidden world, quietly marking the line between ordinary and magical. "15. Old shoes turned hobbit flower beds." Worn-out shoes, sneakers, or boots, instead of being thrown away, can become whimsical planters in a magical autumn garden. Imagine a pair of old leather boots, weathered and cracked, now filled with trailing ivy, marigolds, or tiny autumn blossoms. Placed near a hobbit door or along a mossy pathway, they look as though hobbits or fairies left them behind, only for nature to claim them with flowers. Each scuff and scratch on the shoes tells a story, making the planter feel authentic and alive. In autumn, the contrast of deep brown leather against golden leaves creates a warm, rustic charm that feels straight out of a fairy tale. These shoe planters are not just recycled crafts, they're living sculptures, proof that even worn-out souls can walk again, this time carrying beauty instead of footsteps. "16. Fabric scrap curtains for fairy windows." Tiny scraps of old fabric, worn shirts, faded jeans, or leftover cloth can become the softest detail in a fairy garden. Miniature curtains for hobbit or fairy house windows. Imagine a round hobbit door framed by two tiny windows, each dressed with patchwork fabric in autumn tones, plaid reds, mustard yellows, or cozy browns. The fabric sways lightly in the breeze, giving the illusion that someone truly lives inside. When placed against mossy stones and scattered leaves, the curtains bring warmth and charm, making the home feel welcoming and alive. This simple touch of textile transforms discarded fabric into a story, as if fairies sewed them by moonlight. It's proof that even the smallest scraps can add heart and soul to a magical recycled creation. "17. Worn-out basket as hobbit cottage base." An old basket, frayed at the edges and no longer sturdy enough to carry weight, can be reborn as the foundation of a whimsical hobbit cottage. Imagine the rounded shape turned sideways, forming the curved walls of a tiny home, its woven texture resembling rustic wood or stone. Moss creeps across the surface, autumn leaves crown the top, and a round cardboard door is tucked into the opening. The imperfections of the basket, the loose weave, the faded color, add authentic charm, as though the cottage has stood for years in a magical glen. Placed in a garden corner, this recycled basket transforms into a miniature dwelling that sparks curiosity. Who lives inside? A hobbit? A fairy? Or perhaps a wandering woodland creature? From trash to treasure, it becomes the heart of an enchanted autumn scene. 18. Old toys repurposed into fairy companions. Forgotten toys, tiny cars, plastic animals, or worn-out dolls can find a second life as whimsical companions in a fairy garden. Imagine a small teddy bear, weathered with age, now seated beside a hobbit door as though guarding the home. A toy car, painted with mossy greens and autumn reds, becomes a fairy carriage parked along a pebble path. Even broken figurines can be tucked among leaves, looking like enchanted creatures frozen mid-adventure. Autumn adds its own touch, with fallen leaves and warm golden light turning these toys into relics of a magical world. By placing them carefully, the toys feel alive again, as if fairies or hobbits adopted them to share in their daily lives. What was once forgotten clutter becomes storytelling magic, treasures that invite imagination and wonder. (19) Picture frames turned into fairy gates. Unused or broken picture frames, once gathering dust in storage, can be transformed into magical gateways for a fairy garden. Imagine an old wooden frame painted in shimmering gold or mossy green, propped upright in the soil like a doorway that leads into another realm. Draped with ivy, twigs, or autumn leaves, it becomes more than decoration. It feels like a portal, inviting you to step into the fairy's hidden world. Placed at the edge of a pebble path or beside a hobbit door, the frame suggests mystery and wonder. What lies beyond? The worn edges and chipped paint add rustic authenticity, as though the gate has been standing there for centuries. This simple upcycle turns a discarded frame into a whimsical centerpiece, blending storytelling with nature's autumn beauty. (20) CD, DVD shimmering garden mirrors. Those old CDs and DVDs, scratched and no longer useful, can become magical shimmering mirrors for a fairy garden. Imagine their rainbow surface catching sunlight, scattering tiny beams of color across moss and autumn leaves, like fairy lights dancing in daylight. Broken pieces can be arranged as mosaic mirrors on the wall of a hobbit home, or whole discs can be hung from twigs to twinkle in the breeze. The shifting colors evoke a sense of enchantment, as though the garden itself were alive with spells. By night, when lanterns glow nearby, the discs reflect the warm light, doubling the magic. What was once outdated technology becomes an enchanted detail, breathing playful energy into your autumn fairy world. (21) Used light bulb mini hanging lanterns. Burnt-out light bulbs, fragile and forgotten, can glow again as whimsical lanterns in a fairy garden. Imagine their glass shells painted with soft autumn hues or wrapped with twine, then hung from tree branches with tiny candles or LED lights glowing inside. They sway gently in the breeze, casting flickering light across moss and pebble paths, as if guiding fairies home at twilight. In the crisp autumn air, their glow feels warmer, more magical, like tiny floating stars caught in the branches. Each bulb tells a story of transformation, from discarded household waste to a beacon of wonder. The imperfections in the glass only add to the charm, making them feel handmade and alive, crafted by unseen woodland hands. They remind us that even the smallest spark of imagination can bring light back to the dark. "22. Styrofoam turned into fairy stone walls." Styrofoam packaging, usually tossed aside after protecting electronics or appliances, can be reborn as enchanting stone walls in a fairy garden. Imagine pieces carved or painted to mimic cobblestones, rough, uneven, and weathered, then placed around a hobbit door or as borders for a miniature garden path. Painted in earthy grays and mossy greens, they blend seamlessly into the autumn setting, looking like real ancient walls. Fallen leaves tuck themselves between the cracks, giving the illusion of centuries-old ruins that fairies and hobbits still use today. Lightweight yet sturdy, the styrofoam stones create structure and depth, turning trash into magical architecture. What once cluttered storage boxes now whispers of hidden fortresses and fairy sanctuaries, proof that even the most overlooked materials can become part of a fairytale landscape. "23. Aluminum foil magic reflective orbs." Crumpled pieces of aluminum foil, often discarded after meals, can be transformed into shimmering magical orbs for a fairy garden. Imagine small balls of foil polished to a soft shine, reflecting autumn sunlight like tiny moons resting in the grass. Some could be nestled between moss and leaves, while others perch on twig pedestals, glowing as if enchanted with fairy spells. At dusk, lantern light bounces off their mirrored surfaces, scattering playful sparkles across the garden. The effect is simple yet mesmerizing, ordinary foil becoming celestial treasures hidden in a whimsical world. These reflective orbs feel like protective charms, left behind by fairies to guard hobbit doors and secret pathways. From the most humble scrap comes an otherworldly touch of magic, a reminder that wonder often begins in the smallest, shiniest details. "24. Wire hangers as fairy garden arches." Simple wire hangers, once bent and forgotten in closets, can be reshaped into enchanting fairy garden arches. Imagine their metal frames curved into gateways and wrapped with twine, moss, or climbing vines. Placed over a pebble path or in front of a hobbit door, the arches transform the space into something out of a fairy tale, inviting, whimsical, and just a little mysterious. In autumn, tiny leaves cling to the wires, creating natural garlands in gold, orange, and crimson. The rough industrial feel of the wire melts away under layers of greenery, becoming instead the skeleton of a magical portal. With just a touch of creativity, these mundane objects mark the passage from ordinary backyard to an enchanted woodland world. "25. Harry Potter-themed fairy mailbox from tin can plus cardboard." An empty tin can and a scrap of cardboard can become a magical mailbox fit for fairies, hobbits, or even Hogwarts owls. Picture the can painted in deep maroon or midnight blue, with tiny golden lightning bolts and whimsical crests adorning its sides. A cardboard flap forms the lid, while moss and autumn leaves soften its base. Placed near a hobbit door, it feels as though fairies are waiting for letters from faraway lands, or perhaps owls swoop in at night to deliver enchanted scrolls. In autumn's golden glow, this mailbox carries a playful charm, half garden decor, half storytelling prop. It invites the imagination to wonder what secret messages of magic might be waiting inside. From trash to treasure, it becomes a whimsical postbox between worlds. And there you have it, 30+ magical fairy hobbit homes from trash. Each one a reminder that beauty can grow from the simplest things. I hope this video inspires you to create your own enchanted corner this autumn. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more whimsical ideas. What would you build first? A fairy lantern? A hobbit cottage? Or maybe something completely your own? Let's talk about it below. Until next time, keep creating magic with what you have.